Hi, I'm Vito, and today I'm going to be showing you my work toolkit, exactly what I bring to gigs. I've had plenty of people ask me about my case and what I keep inside of it, so I figured what better way to show everyone than just to make this video. Now, what I bring to work may be different than what you need to bring on a gig, so keep that in mind if you're planning your own toolkit. I'm usually working as A1 operating or A2 assisting on corporate events where pretty much everything is already taken care of, and I carry this stuff for personal convenience. Or when I'm working with bands, a lot of this gets used, and some of it can even save a show at the very last minute. So let's start with the case itself. This is the Nanuk 935. I've had it for a couple years now, and you can see it's got a bit of road wear, but it's holding up quite well. I take it with me on every single gig. If you're looking at getting one, I actually reached out to Nanuk and they gave me a code for you guys, so you can use code VITO20 at checkout to save 20% on your purchase. So let's talk about it. The Nanuk 935 is made of indestructible NK7 resin. It's lightweight. Empty, it weighs about 11.6 pounds and has a capacity of 28.5 liters, though I'm not personally keeping liquid inside of it. In fact, there's no liquid in here because it's IP67 rated, which means it is waterproof and dustproof. The outside measures about 22 inches by 14 inches by 9 inches deep, making it carry-on friendly for most airlines. And the inside is about 20.5 inches by 11.3 inches by 7.5 inches deep. It's got a handle on the side so you can carry it like a briefcase. It's got a spring-loaded handle on the top here. And this great two-stage retractable handle clicks in there and clicks in halfway so you can roll it around. The wheels are polyurethane. They're smooth and silent, and you can see mine have been taking a beating from Montreal streets and sidewalks, and they're doing just fine. However, if they did get destroyed, you can replace them. There's also an automatic pressure release valve to prevent the case from sealing shut with a change of atmospheric pressure or altitude. There are reinforced metal padlock eyelets on the front so you could put a lock through. And the power claw latching system at first might look a little complex, but I prefer it to the cases that just fold down and latch shut because these are not going to accidentally come unlocked if you bump or drop the case, and you always know when it's actually shut. Something else that Nanuk offers that other brand doesn't do is an array of colors. Yeah, I got a bright yellow case. I can find it in the dark, under a stage, or see it from across the room if you try taking it. I'm watching you. Of course, they've got black, but also red, blue, yellow, orange, cyan, or tan, I guess, if you want a tan case. And they back it with a limited lifetime warranty. Plus, as a Montrealer, it's nice to buy such a quality product fait ici au Québec. All right, let's take a look inside. You can get the case empty with cubed foam, or I got mine with a lid organizer and a padded organizer to keep all my stuff in order and easily accessible. I grabbed a couple of locks from Nanuk, which are TSA approved if you're traveling, as well as a Nanuk desiccant container that keeps moisture out and helps prevent corrosion and battery issues. It's also reusable and low maintenance, just as a protective measure. Now let's take a look at what I keep in here. We'll start up top. First, we've got my tablet and iPad. I use these to mix remotely, so I can walk the room, and sometimes there's not even space for a tech table, so I'll just mix with these entirely. I typically use the tablet because I prefer Android, but I often work with Yamaha CL and QL mixers, which only have iOS apps, so I got the iPad here as well. If you've only got one, I would suggest an iPad for this reason. However, having two is a great backup, just in case one dies or something happens to it, it drops or goes missing. Easy transition to the device that allows me to connect wirelessly. This is the GL.iNet SFT 1200 travel router. This thing's great. I've actually got 3 of them, and I spoke about this in my live rack video. I've got one in each of my X32 racks, and this one in my work kit. It's super compact, has great coverage, and can even act as a repeater to share your phone's network. Here you can see this is the power supply. And I've never had any real issues with this router, but I would suggest using a different Ethernet cable than the one it comes with. The stock one works, but it's not super durable. So if you're moving around or traveling a lot with it, I would recommend using a different Ethernet cable, which is why you see I keep another short Cat6 cable in here as well. Up next is the Behringer, I don't know, rip me in the comments, I don't really care, the CT100 cable tester, and I think that every sound tech should be carrying around a cable tester, whether it's this one or another brand, whatever. You need to be able to test cables and troubleshoot as quick as possible on the gig. This thing can test XLRs, TRS 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch, MIDI cables, RCA, and if you're running a long cable run, I would even suggest checking your cables before making that run to make sure you're not running a broken connector 100 feet. It's compact and runs on AA batteries that go in here, and as you can see, I keep tape here on the switch because one time I pulled it out and it had been turned on in my case, so this is just to prevent that from happening. I also put it in upside down so that if it does hit the switch, it's just shutting it off. The CT100 can also produce a 1K or 440 hertz test tone if you want to see if signal's passing through the line, although I know a lot of my colleagues are high on the Sonic Sound Bullet, which I don't own, maybe one day, but it is something that I would suggest having in your kit that is akin to this unit, but more of a cable, a signal generator than it is a pure cable tester like this. Next, we're talking about measuring distances. That's why I've got this Bosch laser measure, which is great for checking how long a cable run needs to be, accurately placing speakers, or doing stage measurements. The laser's great for those long distances, but for shorter distances, like measuring between subs to create a rear fire cardioid array, I've got this tape measure. Nothing special. It's only 16 feet, so if I'm doing anything more than that, I'm usually using the laser measure. All right, speaking of rear fire cardioid arrays, I am using Smart to do that and my Focusrite 2i2 interface, which connects to my measurement mic, my laptop, and sends pink noise from the PC to the mixer. This is essential when I'm time aligning or tuning a PA, but it's also essential for hybrid events with Zoom or Teams whenever there's streaming. Then over here, we've got the Dayton Audio EMM6 measurement mic. This thing is great quality at a reasonable price, and it comes with a calibration file, so I use this mic to tune systems. Also in this little area, we've got a stand that it came with. I don't usually use this one, but I've got it in case I need it. As well as a couple of 1/4 inch to XLR male adapters that I use on the back of the Focusrite. A short XLR I use as the loop back. And the USB cable for the Focusrite. Speaking of adapters, I keep 1/8 inch TRS to stereo TRS cables, as well as 1/8 inch TRS to stereo XLR to plug in laptops or phones for playback, as well as the adapters to plug in either the lightning connector on an iPhone or USB-C. And these both go to female 1/8 inch TRS connections. These things have saved me dozens of times, especially when there's unplanned playback as a last-minute request. I think every sound tech should be carrying around these adapters. Nowadays, at least. I also keep some 1/8 inch TRS extensions. So sort of a headphone extension situation, which I've needed to hand off to musicians so they can expand the distance on their wired in-ears. We've got a straight-up 1/8 inch TRS to 1/4 inch. Just an 1/8 inch to 1/8 inch. This one's quite long. We'll continue on the subject of adapters with my adapter bag here. This is just a mic pouch that I keep all the adapters you could imagine in here. We've got male-to-male XLR. We got female-to-female XLR. Yeah, classic 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch TRS. I've got female 1/4 inch TRS to male XLR. What else is in here? We've got RCA to 1/4 inch. And the ever rare 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch adapter here. I highly recommend every sound tech carry around a bunch of adapters. You never know, even if you use it once every 6 months to a year, you could be saving a show and your client's not going to forget that. And you could even just be making your own day easier. The only catch is they're a little heavy. All right, something else that I think everybody should be carrying around in their case is some batteries. So I keep a few little packs of AA and AAA batteries in here, just in case a mic or in-ear pack needs them. It's rare to use them, any of my own at least, when I'm on a larger gig because most of the batteries are already planned out. But I've certainly had a couple instances with bands where I've saved the singer's trip to the store. I used to carry 9 volts in here to bail out musicians with acoustics or active pickups, but it actually got used and I've yet to replace it. However, if you are regularly working with bands, a 9 volt is a good call. Velcro straps. I got a roll of Velcro cable ties in here, and I use these on all my cabling personally, and I think it's a lot better than using electric tape. It doesn't get sticky if you don't touch them for a while, and you don't have to throw out a bunch of electric tape. They're reusable. I keep them in here because if I'm wrapping up a cable on a gig and it seems to have lost its Velcro, I'll just grab one of my own, or maybe during a setup, I can put these on a speaker stand instead of tape. Beside that, we've got a few ground lifts. And I keep a few of these in here because they can help eliminate hum caused by ground loop. And it's a pretty quick and simple solution if you got a speaker with a buzz that you can't quite figure out and you don't have time to figure it out. And they've definitely saved me a few times, usually in hotel lobbies or cocktail areas where there's no like dedicated power distro. Speaking of power, I've got this iCan R27 20,000 milliamp hour battery bank. Got a little display on the front. Currently at 40%. It's got great capacity for its size and it's super durable. It's made out of metal. I've dropped it way more times than I'd like to admit, and its metal casing does a great job at protecting it. If I'm mixing on a tablet and I'm walking the room, I can't risk it dying mid-show, so I carry this around, and if the tablet hits like 25 or 30%, I'm definitely plugging it in. Tools and accessories up next. We've got in here, I keep this strapped up so that it doesn't accidentally fall out and hit the top. But in here, we've got a multi-tool. This is not a Leatherman, but it is similar, and it works for everything I need. The multi-tool has, it's got pliers, it's got a knife in here, it's got a little saw, it's got a tiny screwdriver here. All right. Well, missing from my case right now, but I highly recommend, is a crescent wrench, an absolute necessity as a tech. I think I took it out of here and I forgot to put it back in before I started filming this. I used to carry Allen keys, but I don't really set up staging anymore. But if you're setting up staging, definitely carry Allen keys. And then I've got a couple of different size screwdrivers. Those are Phillips heads. And I carry these. This is a tiny flathead. So that's for microphones. That's a tiny Phillips head. And this really cool tool, shout out to Pierre who gifted this to me. It's made by Clever Concept, both spelled with K's at the beginning of the word. And as you can see, it has blades here so that when you are undoing tape off of, let's say, a cable bundle or a snake, you can pull it and it'll remove the electrical tape and it won't snag anything else. Really, what a great tool. Speaking of electrical tape, another absolute necessity for techs, electrical tape. As you can see here, I keep the entire rainbow. You don't need to do this, but definitely always carry black electrical tape for taping things up, white electrical tape for labeling things. But I love having all the colors, especially to color code mics and belt packs. You can see at a distance who's carrying what. You don't have to go look and check the number. If you don't know the color code, it's brown is 1, red is 2, orange is 3, yellow is 4, 5 is green, blue is 6, 7 is purple, 8 is gray, 9 is white, and 0 is black tape. And you'll see this a lot on XLR cables. For example, you'll probably see red and a green stripe to mark something as 25 feet, or green and black to mark it as 50 feet. We have this pouch up here where I keep all my charging cables. So we've got my phone's charging cable. This is a cable for my iPad. This is a ancient micro USB cable for my tablet, which is quite old. And then I keep a couple of additional blocks in here, just in case. I have people sometimes ask me if they could borrow a charger, so it's always handy. Sometimes you have a spare USB cable around, but you need the block. I got another micro USB cable just in case something happens, because I really need that tablet to function. And then a spare Ethernet cable here to plug in my laptop to the network. So that all lives up there. We'll move on to ear protection. In here, I have my custom molded earplugs. I got them blue so that I could kind of see them. And there's a red dot on the right one. Highly recommend getting custom molded earplugs. They fit better than the generic plugs. And these ones are designed to attenuate all frequencies equally, so it's not just cutting out the top end and you're left with a bunch of boomy bottom end. I wear these all the time when I'm mixing bands, and I'll wear them to concerts as well. Got a little cleaner in here. Just a little tool to clean the earplugs. If you're not into spending a couple $100 right away on custom molded earplugs, you can buy some off Amazon. I got these for $25 or $30. These are Alpine hearing protection, and they come with 2 different filters. Mine are quite old and they've started to yellow, but it's super handy to have on your keychain. I still keep mine with me just in case I forget my custom molded ones, which happens. All right, the last thing on the bottom here, but certainly not the least, is my personal pharmacy. A spare pair of black socks. I promise you, if you are working with wet feet, 12, 14-hour days is going to absolutely suck. Hand sanitizer. Highly recommend you bring some hand sanitizer with you. You're going to be shaking a lot of hands, and you don't want to get sick, because what we do, you get sick, you miss work, you lose money. But it's also important to clean your hands in front of the client before you're putting a microphone on them. What else we got in here? A small deodorant, so it fits in here conveniently. I've got Robax Platinum, because you don't spend 8 years wrestling without some aches and pains when you go to work later. I got a little container of Tylenol and Advil here. Some Kleenex. Wet wipes. Oh. This is a tape that I should have shown you with the other tape, but this is like medical grade tape. And so I find this is helpful if you're putting microphones on people and you have to tape onto their body. This tape is a lot easier to come off and less irritating on the skin. We'll actually stick that with the tape. And then a couple packs of instant coffee and a couple packs of sugar, because I need to be caffeinated and stay awake. All right, back to the top of the case. I've got some writing utensils. So an absolute must if you're a tech is Sharpies. You need permanent markers. I've got 3 of them in here because somebody always seems to forget theirs or can't find it or steals mine. Stick your name on them. As well as a silver Sharpie in case we're writing on a dark color of tape, black or blue in particular. A highlighter, which is super useful if you're going through a run of show and somebody's printed you a schedule. It's great that you get the schedule, but I don't need to know everything the video guys and the catering are doing, so I'll just highlight my moves, as well as a couple of pens so you can take notes. Also up here are a few USB keys. These are all 32 gigs or under, formatted FAT32 so that they play nice with consoles. So I've saved files, scenes on here. Sometimes you just need to transfer files. And I carry a few of them just in case something happens to one. A couple of those are actually redundant. And in here with my locks, we've got some sweet, sweet cash, baby. I like to carry some coins. I'm in Canada, so we've got toonies and loonies. That's $2 twice and $1 there. Anyway, it's not enough money that I'd be really, really upset if somebody were to steal it if my case was left somewhere. But it is enough money that I could pay for my parking if their credit card system is down, or I could leave a tip if I get a comped meal and I still want to leave a tip for the wait staff. And that's everything I keep in my work toolkit. The Nanuk 935. Just a reminder, if you do want to go to the Nanuk website and scoop up anything from there, you could use the code VITO20 at checkout for 20% off. I like the case so much, I bought a second one, and I keep my microphones in here and my DIs. And it's in much better condition because it mostly lives in my studio, but I do bring it on gigs sometimes. So here you can see sort of what stays in it. This one just has the foam top, no organizer inside of it. So I figure as a little added bonus, we could talk about what else I'm bringing to the gig outside of my Nanuk. And I am traveling with my knapsack. In here, I'm keeping my laptop, which I use for smart wireless workbench, music playback. I use it to test a stream if we're doing streaming or going over Zoom or Teams. I use it for multi-track recording. If we are doing that, I'll bring my headphones. These are the Audio-Technica M50X, but I wouldn't recommend traveling with loose headphones. Get yourself a hard case. This thing was like 20 or 30 bucks, I think, and my headphones aren't broken, unlike the previous ones that I used to carry around. Also in here, I'm keeping sort of a Corpo dress kit, just in case I have to rush out the door. It's already prepared, so I can go to work. I've got some nice shoes here, and inside I keep a pair of dress pants, black dress shirt, and a black t-shirt. So that's all ready to go at the drop of a hat. And speaking of hats, since I'm always wearing one and constantly hitting my head, and I am prone to concussions admittedly, I purchased this bump cap, which fits underneath my hat, and is barely even noticeable, and I wear this on setups and teardowns to protect my head. It's not as durable as a hard hat, not as much protection as a hard hat. However, it is very useful if you're crawling under stages, or if you're like me and you're just accident prone to bumping your head on literally anything around. Something else you should always be protecting is your feet. So I keep these steel toe boots in my trunk so that anytime I show up on a gig, I can't forget them. Sometimes you'll be required to even wear them by an employer. Something else that is sometimes required is a hard hat, so it's good to have a hard hat. I keep that one in my trunk as well as a high-vis vest. So these things are more if you're working around cherry pickers or lifts or maybe for insurance purposes. And you don't want to be showing up to a gig and not have them on you and be refused to go to work. Then you got to go home, lose your day's pay. No fun for anybody. So that's it. I will add that if you are often working with bands, you might want to carry an SM58 for talkback. You might want to carry a DI just in case. And I am looking at purchasing a sound bullet and maybe a tiny SA or an RF Explorer to scan RF environments, but I don't have them now. This is what I've got. This is what I'm working with. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got some information that'll help you with your own toolkit. Again, if you're going to go to Nanuk's website, you might as well use VITO20 to save 20% off at checkout. And hit the like button, subscribe. These are the best ways you could support the effort that I'm putting into this channel. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.